Now you may think that the whole concept behind the games in Squid Game is evil. However, I would ask, are they really? I mean, as they always say, they just created the game. They're not forcing anybody to take part in them. So maybe instead it's the system that makes people risk their lives for a piece of paper with pictures on it that's actually evil. Or maybe systems just exist and every individual is entirely responsible for his actions. What I'm trying to get at is that if this show does one thing, then that's showing us that things are most often not just black and white, but that life is complicated. Especially season 2 asks some very interesting moral, ethical questions. The central question being if Gi-Hun's decision to play the hero was right. So I want to explore this question further, but before I get into it, as I just said, it's not just black and white, so there's no objectively right answer to this question. I will simply answer this question based on my personal thoughts and opinions, so feel free to leave yours in the comments below. To explore the question if him playing the hero was the right decision and how he actually ended up playing the hero was the right decision, let's recap what he actually did. He won the last game, so now he has 45.6 billion won, which is $30 million, as we all probably have to calculate constantly during this show. His goal is now to use his resources to stop these games from ever happening again. I'm not sure what his plan was at the beginning in like the first 1 or 2 episodes, but as things kind of unravel, his new plan becomes to take part in these games again and prove to the host that people can be better by getting everybody out alive. This plan fails, however, after the first game, so it's like a plan goal kind of thing. I guess his more detailed plan is to get everybody out of the first game alive, which to be fair is possible, and then have the majority to vote for ending the game, which also doesn't end up working out. And that's one thing I actually really love about this series. It's how the players actually behave. It's not like I want people to behave like this, but I do feel like what we end up seeing in this series is not too far from reality. Sure, I would hope that if people see that these games are actually deadly, they would all choose to leave after the first game, but if their financial situation is so shitty, and they're so desperate, I'm not so sure if in real life people would do anything different. That's why I think Gi-Hun's first plan was pretty weak. Not that it's right or wrong, but it's just weak. I mean, did he really think that just by saying that he's played the games before and that they're gonna continue being this brutal, he would get them to change their mind? And even if he succeeded and the majority would have voted to stop the games, would that have really stopped the games for good? I don't think so. I think he would have just saved this year's candidates and next year the same thing would happen again. So this I think is already pretty weird, but it's not really a moral dilemma. It's more of, do we think that this is a good strategy? I personally think it's not. But Gi-Hun thinks so because he continues this voting strategy for a while, which continues to fail, but then things get really spicy and that's when he fully commits to being the hero, at least the hero in his mind. In episode 7, the second night is about to begin and the conflict between the two groups is about to escalate into a bloodbath, just like in the last season. Knowing this from the last time he took part in the games, Gi-Hun and his comrades discuss what to do. Player 1, who is of course actually the frontman, which is amazing, but more on that in a bit, he suggests to attack the other group first because their group is physically a lot weaker. To this, Gi-Hun replies that this is a really bad idea because killing each other plays directly into the hands of the game's hosts. Which, to be fair, he has a point, but then what ends up being his plan is also pretty brutal, because Gi-Hun decides that they should hide and wait for the guards to come in, being fully aware of the fact that this would cause many other players on his team to die. The frontman then asks him,
"So what you're saying is, sacrifice a few for the good of the rest."
And this quote is really the heart of this video because it reflects one of the central moral dilemmas in this show, the tension between individual lives and the collective survival. When the frontman says this to Gi-Hun, it's a calculated move to challenge Gi-Hun's sense of morality and force him to confront a utilitarian perspective. Utilitarian philosophy judges actions as moral or ethical based on their ability to maximize happiness or benefit the greatest number of people. This phrase reflects how systems of power justify exploitation and oppression by framing it as necessary for the greater good, and how society often dehumanizes marginalized groups in the name of progress and efficiency. In the Squid Game universe, this ideology is basically what justifies the games by themselves. The wealthy elite sacrifice the poor for their entertainment while rationalizing it as an opportunity for the contestants to win a life-changing fortune and selling their organs to people in need. So this quote is designed to push Gi-Hun into a moral gray area. Throughout this series, Gi-Hun has been portrayed as compassionate and morally upright, but the frontman's statement forces him to reckon with the real-world compromises people often make in survival situations or when societal structures are at stake. In this moment, the frontman is basically asking Gi-Hun, how much sacrifice is your goal of taking down the system worth to you? And I couldn't help but think of Captain America and his quote, "We don't trade lives" vision. I mean, when we're talking about moral decisions, who else would you look up to than to Captain America? And Captain America, a true hero, would never do something like this. If your plan involves sacrificing the lives of other people, then change the plan. And not just that this plan was already pretty extreme, and then of course it's not just the theory, but then actually sitting under your bed and watching other people getting killed in front of your eyes and not doing anything is pretty extreme. But I think Gi-Hun completely lost his morals the moment he said,
"And we'll capture the people who captured us. We're gonna put an end to it all."
Now he says that they should capture the guards, which doesn't that just make them just as bad as the guards or the people that are hosting the game? And also with this strategy, who is he capturing? Or actually he says capturing, but killing. He's killing the guards. And what are the guards? Other people. And they even get into this by having one of the guards take off their mask, and they're all shocked of how young he is. And it's like, okay, yeah, they're all guards, but behind these guards are also just people that in their private life also have problems. I mean, I'm sure none of these people dreamed of being a guard in the Squid Games when they grow up and killing people. So killing the guards or other people in pursuit of bringing down the system or stopping the games is another pretty brutal and I think not really necessary, or at least not a great action to take. And that's why I love that the frontman actually takes part in the games this time, because this achieves two things. The frontman is always there to question Gi-Hun's morals. Besides him asking if sacrificing a few for the good of the rest is good, another moment he challenges his morals is when he says this.
Better shot at the next vote.
Guess we have to hope more O's died than we did.
It's another one of those things where Gi-Hun just says, I mean, they cut away, but basically he doesn't say anything, so this is fine for him. And that just shows that the way he's thinking and how his morals are structured, that it would be okay for him to stop the games if this would be achieved by more people of the other group dying in the game. I mean, that's completely messed up. And it also shows that the frontman is also just a normal guy, not some monster that if you don't know him you might construct in your head, but he's also just a person that when he's undercover as a player, the other players, including Gi-Hun, actually end up liking.
All right, thank you. We're all really glad to see you.
I can't really fully explain what that does, but it's kind of like Gi-Hun wants to kill the frontman so badly and is so angry at him, but the person by itself that's behind the frontman, he's totally okay with. Like, when he doesn't know that he's the frontman, he actually likes him. Which is another one of those things that we get so angry at a certain position that somebody is in that we forget that behind that position is also just a human being. And it's also showing that although the frontman is actually a player in this case, the games are still taking place. So just killing this person wouldn't stop the games. There would just be another person that takes on the role of the frontman. It's just so awesome having him sit right in front of them as they're making their plan how to get to the frontman to kill him. While the frontman is sitting right there. It's so cool.
There's a man in a black mask who's the head of the operation. If we can get to him...
So overall, as you probably noticed, I don't think that playing the hero was the right call, or at least how he ended up playing the hero. I wouldn't even call this playing the hero. Like, coming back to Captain America, I don't think he would have behaved like that in this situation. And I have some other suggestions what he should have probably done instead, but to kind of conclude the moral question behind Gi-Hun, I think we could already know that Gi-Hun's moral isn't that great after season 1. If you remember, at the end of season 1, the old man bets to Gi-Hun that nobody will help that guy freezing to death, and Gi-Hun accepts that bet, not realizing that he could have actually helped that person down there himself. Instead, he accepted a bet on another man's life and just watched, just like the VIPs behind the Squid Games.
What will you bet on?
Anything.
Now, since I disagree with Gi-Hun's action, what do I think he should have done? The obvious answer is, use his resources to collect evidence of the Squid Games and then activate the police. I mean, with that much capital, it can't be that hard to find this island, and then he could activate the police and it would all take its official way. However, that still doesn't remove the core problem, which is the fact that people end up in so desperate situations that they would even take part in the Squid Games in the first place. You see, to me, the Squid Games, as horrible as they are, since they really do not force anybody to take part, they're more of a symptom than a problem. Meaning, if you manage to stop these games, these desperate people would do something else that's horrible instead, or some other organization would take its place. The only solution I could see working is that he uses his resources, I mean $30 million is a decent chunk of change, to help these people outside of the Squid Games, like in real life, so to speak. He could found some sort of organization that helps people in need and gives them guidance, gives them financial support, whatever the case may be. I don't want to get too far into this because, of course, there are people doing this in real life, and yes, I know that doesn't suddenly remove all the problems and suddenly we have no people in financial need anymore, but at least it would be a start. And I think even if this organization only helps one person to improve his life and thereby ending up not participating in the Squid Games, I think he would have already done a better job than what he ended up doing in season 2 by joining the games again and playing the hero. But as I said in the beginning, that's just my opinion and there's no objective, correct answer to this. So please, let me know your thoughts on this moral dilemma in Squid Game Season 2. Do you think Gi-Hun did the right thing by joining the Squid Games? Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.